Hello, dear viewer. I believe you're okay. So, welcome again to American Corner Nakuru. We are doing our virtual program, and we started this program last Friday. And remember, we were talking about governance and sustainability. And today, we are going to the second lesson, and I want us to focus on a topic called transparency and as a principle of good governance. My name is Joseph Olala, and I believe we are going to learn together, bring your ideas, comments, and I believe everything will be okay. All right? So I want us to start by maybe just reviewing what are we going to discuss today. And today I want to talk about transparency, and we are going really to define what is transparency. We'll also be looking at the principle and standards of good governance, components of transparency, and then transparency as element of abolishing corruption. Definitely also going to look at the how to promote transparency. And last but not least, we'll be looking at tools of transparency. So that's our subtopics of today. Now, let's start by defining exactly what is transparency. We say that transparency implies that the public insight in the work of public administration bodies, like we do have the government agencies, the public offices, the organization, and we are saying that these people or the citizens, the public must be involved. And that's why we are saying that the public insights, their feeling, their decisions, what they believe in, their suggestions should be respected and should be included if maybe it's in policies, maybe it's during the budgeting. So all these things, the public must be given a chance. Another way that we can look at transparency is by saying that is a principle that allows the or a principle of allowing those affected by administrative decisions to know about results and about the process that led to the results of the decisions. Very, very important. We need to be transparent in a way that everything, the processes that are involved in that public office, everything that is done, be it maybe awarding of tenders or doing ABCD, all those things, they need to be in the public domain. People need to really see how the process went through. If it's maybe an election, people, the public, the citizens of a particular country, they do have a right to know this person who has won the election, how was the process. They have to be involved from the beginning towards the end. If we are doing the budget, like maybe the county government, national government, they are coming up with a budget, the people, the public, the citizen of Kenya, they have to be involved. So when you look at transparency, it's all about involving, engaging the public. We say that these are the people who own, and it is being done for them. So they have to be involved, they have to be engaged, the decisions that are being made, these people must be there and their views must be co-opted in the policies. Okay. Now, let's look at the principles and standards of good governance. What are these principles? We say that these principles, they demand public administrations to be number one, efficient. That means that transparency is a point where we are experiencing efficiency in where? We're experiencing efficiency in our public offices. There is also what we call effectiveness. Other people, they are effective, the processes that are there, the policies that are there, the rules, the guidelines, the standards, all those things have to be weighed, and we need to gauge and see, are they really effective? Okay, sometimes we have the policies which are not working, the policies which are not favoring the public. So this policy might be there, but the question is, are they working? So it's our duty, it's the responsibility of the citizens to ensure that the things which the organization or the public offices are saying that they are there, we need to gauge and find out whether they are working. Okay. Then professionalism is very, very important with transparency. Okay, we need to show some professionalism. That is the people who are given this, holding these public offices. There must be some professionalism with the way they are doing things, how they are responding to the needs of the public, the needs of the people, those who go there to do inquiry. Is there any professionalism in our county governments, in our national government, in those particular offices, the parastatals, or the government agencies? We need to ask ourselves, do we have transparency? Yeah. So keep your, I don't know, maybe you have a comment on the same, you can just share and see how we can address this. So there must be professionalism in responding to the needs of citizens and provide quality public service. Quality public services. The services might be there, yes, but maybe they're existing within the policies, they're existing on their website. Those maybe whatever they are saying, the mandate, the activities, all the objective, what they're supposed to do. They are supposed to maybe to do this particular registration for 5 days or for 1 day or for how many hours or minutes. But those are things that they have just written in maybe in the Citizens Charter. But we really need to find out, are these policies, or is the Citizen Charter, are they respecting the Citizen Charter the way they've written it? So those are the things that we really need to counter check, not just maybe putting things there in the policies or the legal structures. Yes, they might be there, but the question is, are they working? Okay. Well, then let's move to components of transparency. What are the components of transparency? We talk about transparency as a whole. We say that the government officials act openly. Yes, they should act openly with citizens' knowledge of the decisions the officials are making. Any decisions that are being made in public offices, it is the responsibility of this particular office to tell the public, to create awareness, maybe through the social media, through the government gazette notice. They can also use the print media. They can use media like the television, the radio, or even having some groups meetings through the chief's camp and all that, so that the public, the people who are involved, the citizens of that particular, or the people who are affected by those decisions are aware, and they feel that they have been accommodated and their views are also respected. Then we have availability of information on government policies and action. We need to ask ourselves this question. If I want certain information in a certain public office, will I get it? If I want a certain policy within a particular parastatal, will I get it? So those are the questions. Sometimes it is the responsibility, not even sometimes, it is the duty and the responsibility of any particular public office to ensure that the public have the information, to ensure that the information is sufficiently, the information is understood, the information is can be analyzed, and people can really understand this information. They can act on this information. So there must be availability of information throughout, like policies, the actions that are taken. If, for example, it's issues with tendering process, we need to know the bidders who are awarded. Yeah, who and why were they awarded? All those are the key things that when we talk about transparency, they should be a key point. They should be brought out. The citizens need to know. It's their right to have access to information, so long as that information is supposed to be within the public domain. So let's present the information to the public. Let us look at the best way. If maybe the citizen do not understand English, how can we interpret the same information maybe in a language like Kiswahili, which maybe some of them might understand better. Then there is also what we call free of system corruption. Yes, in the system of the government, administrations and offices and all that, we are saying that these offices must be free from corruption. So it's our responsibility as citizens to also counter-check the civil service, the civil community, and it's also the responsibility of the government agencies tasked with the issues with looking at corruption issues and all that. Yeah, it is their responsibility also to come and really audit whatever procedures, policies, budget issues, and funding, procurement, all those things. They should be audited, and so that they can really give us a real picture of what is happening, free from corruption. Okay, how we talk to people. And no, corruption does not just involve money, but it involves a lot of things. How we respond to people, how we talk to people, the things that we do, are they professionalism, all those things that they should be considered in, so long as it's in the public office. A clear sense of organizational responsibility. Any organization, it should be able to communicate well to the public of what it exists to do. Why do we have this arm of government? Why do we have this parastatal? Why do we have this government agency? Why do we have the county government? All those things. We are saying that their responsibilities must be well defined. Okay, let's move on. Another area is let's look at the transparency as an element of abolishing corruption. How can we maybe, or how does transparency ensure or helps in abolishing corruption? Okay, so when you look at corruption, corruption is it happens in several ways, in government, in the private sector, and everywhere. Corruption is there. But now, we are saying that if this corruption is not mitigated, if we don't stop corruption, if we don't fight this corruption, it will interfere with good governance. So corruption interferes with or threatens good governance. That's the first point we need to note, that any government or any institution that has entertained corruption, then it means that there is no good governance. And the other point is corruption leads to misallocation of resources and funds. Okay, I believe you understand that point, that if there is corruption, the money that was tasked to do this, that task will not be accomplished. It will not be accomplished until we have a situation where the money is being used in something else that was not intended, or someone is even pocketing the money. So there is that misallocation of resources. Then harms public and private sector development. It harms the public and private sector development. If there is corruption, definitely there is no development of a particular country, state, organization, and all that. Distorts public policy. Corruption goes against the policy. So, and if there is corruption, the existing policy will be overshadowed or overpowered by the corruption. So, which is something that is not really good. Then let's look at the types of transparency and accessibility of information in public. We do have two. One is what we call the proactive transparency, and proactive transparency involves the publication of information of public importance before the public requires them. That is the responsibility of this parastatal, this institution, this organization, maybe the government, the parliament, the county governments. It is actually their responsibility to publicize, to create awareness, to give people information without really waiting for people to demand. If this information is meant for public consumption, then it's the responsibility, the role of this organization, without being forced or coerced, it is their duty to do what? To give this information to the public. We always assume this, and which is actually a fact, that all information of public importance belong to the public. Yes, it belongs to the citizens, it belongs to the public, and that they are only in the possession of public administration bodies, those who are in those offices. That those are not their offices, that's what we believe in, but they are just representatives of the public. Just like, for example, when you talk about member of parliament or a county assembly, he or she was elected by the people to represent them. So that office belongs to the people, the voters, the people who elected you. But you are just there temporarily to represent. So whatever you are doing, you are acting on behalf of the people. You are acting on behalf of the citizens who elected you, the people who gave you vote, the voters. You are any idea, any decision you do, you implement the policies, you come up with what legal structures, development structures, all those infrastructure development, you are acting on behalf of what? Of the people who elected you. Sometimes it surprises and disappoints when we see sometimes our leaders we elected them, but when they go there, they feel like they're acting in their own way. Remember this, you are elected to represent the people, and whatever you are doing in that particular office, it is something that should empower the people, the community. You are acting on behalf of the community. It means the resources that you are using, it is the resource that belongs to the voters, the people who elected you. And therefore, you really need to act in a manner that is going to benefit the people who did what? Elected you. Okay, let's proceed. Another type of transparency, we do have what we call reactive transparency. A reactive transparency is also about the public right to know. Now, this one, it is like, it is my right to know. It is my right to be given this information. But in this case, it is carried out on particular demand or a popular demand. When like a certain group of people need this particular information, they make a request. It is their right to make that request, and also it is their right to be given or facilitated in a way that they are going to access the information that they do what they need. Democracy is the rule of the people, and that the elected representatives are temporary executors of the decision. Temporary executors. So like the member of parliament or all those who are in the government offices, they are temporary executors, okay, of the decisions that are being made. It means that that's not their office, but that office belongs to the public, and they are acting on behalf of the community or on behalf of the people. Okay, let's proceed. We say that controlling corruption is only possible when government, citizens, and the private sector cooperate to ensure transparency. For us to finish corruption, it's not maybe we say just the government. No. It's not maybe we say that people. No. Or maybe the private sector. No. It's all about where is the government? What is the role of the government in fighting corruption? Has it put on the legal structures? Like we have the government agencies mandated to fight corruption. Yeah, the DCI, the Anti-Corruption Commission, all those commissions and government agents that have been tasked to fight, are they doing their role? So it's all about, like, when you talk about like the office of the auditor general, who has to go in each and every institution, seeing what they did, the expenditure and all those, if there's any malice in that structure, they need to bring those things out. So it's the role of the government, but again, it is the role of me and you. That means it's the role of the public, it's the role of the citizen. Do you believe that? It's your role as a citizen, it's your responsibility as a citizen to help in fighting what? Corruption. And someone will ask how. I know sometimes these things are exposed to us, but we keep quiet. Let us talk, let us shout, let's expose these people in a community, in the leadership, whom we think that they are going against the spirit of supporting the community or working within the ethics that are there coded in those particular offices. So let's talk it out. Talking it out will really, really do what? Help. Okay? And then also private sector. We also need to ask ourselves, what is the role of the private sector in this? So when you look at the private sector, they also play very important roles, because the private sector, it works close hand in hand with the government. So that particular partnership, it has to be strong. It has to come up very, very clear. So there is a role that the private sector has to play as far as fighting corruption is concerned. It's not just about the government alone or the people alone, the public, that, no. The private sector, the people who maybe own companies and all that, they can also support the government in fighting corruption, exposing these ill things. They do business with the government, of course. How many private sector companies have registered, maybe, for example, in Kenya? How many are doing business? Are they engaging the right business? Like when you talk about the procurement processes, are they really following also? Are they being given those tenders because they qualify or they are the best bidders? Or are they being given the tenders because there is some corruption somewhere? When you find the money in your bank and you don't know where the source of this money, and someone tells you like, bring me, I've sent money in your account and take 10%, the rest you do it for me. No, those are the things we need to expose out, because that is a corruption. So what I'm saying here is, even the private sector, they have a responsibility, they have a role, they have a duty to play as far as corruption is concerned. Okay? Great. I believe we are moving on well. Yes, and maybe just to ask a question, how can we promote transparency? Have you ever thought of that? How can we promote transparency? We say that different stakeholders must exercise oversight and control. I've already told you, the government, the private, and the people, and all other stakeholders, it's their duty to exercise oversight over what is being done. Like if there is a project that is being done in your community facilitated by the government, it's your responsibility to know this road that is being constructed here, who is the person who was given this tender, who is the contractor, all those things. You need to know how much. You also need to be exposed maybe to the BQ. You need to know bill of quantities, how much was quoted and all that, and the work that is being done there, is it according to the specification that the contractor is demanding, or it's against? So it is our responsibility also to know. Get information what is being done. Don't just see people are doing like they are doing road. We don't know this road was done by the government, national government or county government, or by a donor like World Bank. Sometimes, like I've seen, a road is being done maybe by the World Bank, but because the MCA or maybe the member of parliament wants to, or even the governor want to take the vote that I'm the one who has done this. So that is wrong. And that's why it is our responsibility to know what is happening, who is doing this road, the sources of fund, who gave the fund. Is it the government, is it the governor, or the office of the governor rather, or is this something that was given by the donor? Maybe the road is being done by the World Bank. So those are the things that we really need oversight in everything. Measures that are there, we see what can work, what is for us, and what information are we having, is it the right information and all that. These stakeholders include state and national level agencies that I've already mentioned. Then implement internal control and monitoring mechanism. Yeah, very important. In that particular, maybe it's a parastatal. Do we have internal control measures like processes? Who has this authority to do what? Do we have offices like maybe the internal audit office that has the responsibility to counter check what is being done and all that? The issues with approvals, the levels of rights to approve and all that. Are they really following the procedures and all that? Okay. Yeah. The other thing is we talk about performance measures and code of ethics. Yeah. There guidelines made, the policies being done maybe within the HR management that maybe dictates or defines or elaborates how things should work when you talk about the code of ethics, how do we act in our offices and all that. Those are the things that affect governance, and also they do affect transparency. Okay. Create mechanism where citizens are allowed to provide input. Okay. Do and receive feedback. Maybe in the public office, do public receive input? Are they allowed maybe to give feedback? I mean, they receive feedback, and are they allowed to give their input? So we should ensure that maybe there is a way the public is allowed, is engaged. The public is allowed to give their own ideas, decisions. Like maybe we can use something like websites where the public can give comments. We should have suggestion box where the public can give comments. We should have, these offices belong to the people. And I'm saying this because of the African setup culture, whereby they think that there are only few who can access the public offices. That's a public office, and it's the responsibility of each and every citizen, Kenyan for that matter, to access that office. So those protocols sometimes that we put in our offices that certain people cannot access, you need to book appointments and all that. Those are the structures that they should not exist in the 21st century. If the office belongs to the public, let's have order. Allow people to access these offices. Allow people to do their business. Allow people to come and talk to you, give you ideas. Allow people to come and maybe you give them feedback and all that. So what we are saying, there must be ways that have been identified through which the public can participate, the public can give feedback, can give input, and they can also receive feedback. So that's basically how we can ensure that transparency is being adhered to. Then lastly, let's look at the tools that can be used to address transparency. What are these tools? Number one is what we call adequate information flow. Yeah, we need to ensure that there is information flow from one entity to another entity. People can access this information at any time. This information is available to anybody at any time, and it's also information that is well protected, is information that is genuine, or what we call it has integrity. Yeah, right. Strong civil society. Yes, we need also to have a very strong civil society. These are the watchdogs of the community. They look at what the government is doing, what is going on well, what is not going on well, and they voice out, they speak. So let us speak out as a civil society. Let us talk, let us air our views, let's give those positive views on how we can improve our the service delivery to the people. So it's the responsibility for us to have a strong civil society so that we can really support, and also whenever we see something that is not good happening within the government entity, we talk. We bring it out so that at least we can iron and support the government in that matter. Effective and transparency financial management systems. Yeah, there must be transparency, how the cash flow goes, who signed what, where this money is meant for what, is the work was done well, the money was utilized well, the resources, the materials that were bought, were they according to the standard money that was set there. So those are the things that we also need to have. The public offices must have effective structures that are transparent, the financial systems that are transparent, that are really audited, and can give full information on what is happening. Procurement, regulations that keep the bidding process fair and open. Yes, this is where the most of the issues and corruption from the government is coming from and all that. So this area has a lot of loopholes, and that's why we are saying that there must be strong systems. I think it's high time maybe for the governments and public offices to create those strong systems, procurement systems, so that we are able to see the people who are given the tender, there are people who qualify and there are people who deliver, and they do quality work, so that we move away from the people who are given the tenders and yet they cannot deliver. So we should be having that regulation, so we should be having that process, so that we see how things are really working within the government structure. So basically, that is what we had to share with you today. We are hoping that we'll meet next week as we continue looking at issues with government, governance, and sustainability. If you have any question, any contribution, bring it. We'll be happy to respond to you on our Facebook Live. That's American Corner Nakuru, and I think it all will be well. Thank you. My name is Josek Akwea, and I was your presenter today, and I believe you've learned something. Yeah, let's talk. Let's see how we can administer good governance within the public entities. Thank you and goodbye.